Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Sports Talk and the Success Table. I am Zach Barnett. Let's get into this interview today. But before that, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to get all our up-to-date content. Let's get into the interview. Definitely. So you mentioned life after football. This one intertwines with that. So life after football, the lessons and the trials and tribulations of football. How have you applied those things to your personal life? And with me personally, I see what you're doing out of football. You're like your camera stuff, and I admire your persistence and dealing with the pressure of the media outlets scrutinizing your football career. And
right.
Getting back to that question now.
It's funny, the photography and the artistry or the creativity is so subjective, right? Because, I have a good friend of mine who's a very incredible photographer, incredible human being, Joel Grimes, and he always used the analogy of, explaining how art is subjective in general, photography being part of art. Just whichever you choose as far as whether you want to do painting or drawing or whatever. And he's like, you take if you're like a musician and you take a rap, if you're a hip hop artist and you take that demo to a country station and they're going to listen to it and go, no, you're not going to make it. You take it to a, rock and roll heavy metal station and they're going to be like, you're not going to make it. But you take it to a hip hop station or an R&B station and they're going to be like, this is like incredible, right? So everything is subjective. And so he's like, as is our photography and our body of work that we have. So, I know that my body of work that I've done and I'm doing and will continue to do directly comes from my personal life experiences. That's why sometimes there's like really dark, dramatic photos. And then that'll make me think of something that had happened in my life or that whatever the situation was. And there's also light photos because there's been a lot of great light things that have happened. So I think it just depends on the project. I'll do a lot of self-assignments, which is another thing I learned from Joel. And there's another photographer, Paul Marco, who taught me a ton. Jack Resnicki taught me a ton. These guys are great. They're great people. There is a common thread between the three, okay? And I've noticed this. And these are like three very nationally, if not internationally known photographers. And I've been fortunate enough to work alongside them or for them for many jobs. And they have no secret. They will, any question you ask them, they will, answer you on how they do it and why they do it, and on a certain lighting technique or whatever. And they are extremely successful. And I can't tell you how many, and I've met other photographers that do the same thing, that are extremely successful. And then I've met some photographers, I've met a lot of photographers that are, where I see some technique that they do, where they have a finished product that I see on social media or somewhere on their website. And I'm like, that is a really cool look. I wonder how they do that, because I can't reverse engineer it. Like, I'm trying to figure out how they do it. I try it and, I'll try it. And then my last resort will be to contact that person and say, hey, I really admire your work. I'm just curious on how you do it. And it's interesting how many will be like, oh, I can't tell you, that's my kind of like secret. And that's my patent. And then it's like, and I'm like, no, that's totally fine. And I'm just like, I just really admire it. And I was just curious, but no harm, no foul. And I would say I see a lot of those photographers that are not at that super high level. And I've noticed that theme of people that give freely, their skills or their talents. I don't want to say they've got to, all those guys that I mentioned, they have tutorials that you can buy online and stuff, but they give a lot of information out for free. Now, if you get to work with them and assist them, you can pick their brain and there's like no secret. And they all kind of resonate with saying one of the reasons we're not afraid of sharing what we do, how we do, is because it's hard to do, it's hard work, and 99% of the people won't do it, even if they're told on how to do it. So, and I'm like, wow, you're right. You know what? You're right. And that's kind of like goes across the board on a lot of things.
Definitely.
Yeah, you know, with
It's
the
like the 1% of NFL
yeah,
guys making it to the NFL.
yeah,
A lot of people aren't willing to put in that extra effort.
right, right. And yeah, and you know, you have to have a certain amount of luck to not be hurt, not get, you know, a bad injury. You have to be there's a certain amount of you have to be at the right place at the right time. The majority of it comes down to hard work and perseverance and dedication. And I mean, you have to have some talent. But I've seen guys in the NFL that have made the cut to the 53-man roster when I played. I don't know if it's still a 53-man roster, but that have made the cut that have had way less talent than the guy that got cut at the same position, because what the team was sacrificing was that much, but they were saving $4 million by not signing this guy, re-signing this guy, and his work ethic is not as good, and his upside is not as high. Where this guy who's working his butt off and is committed and dedicated and is not a troublemaker and is not a loudmouth and all these things, you know, it becomes more attractive to keep an athlete like that, and it makes business sense.
Definitely, man. It's a culture builder too.
Yeah, yeah.
You build that guys like that around that.
Develop.
And
Listen, I mean, you know who Jeff Saturday is?
yes, sir. Played
Okay,
with the
so
Colts.
yeah, so you know, I played with Jeff when I was in Indy,
Yes, sir.
and I think at one time Jeff was on the practice squad, which was we had a 10-man practice squad. I believe he was on the practice squad, but so you know, you're making, I mean, you're not making a ton of money, but you're doing all the same work that the guys that are starting are. You're still working your butt off. And I think, and the reason it was back then called, I don't know if it's still called the developmental squad, is because some players just need to develop. You know, they're just not, you know, trained or coached the correct way, or they don't fit in the right system or whatever. You know, so I played in Indy for 3 years, and I think when I left Indy, Jeff still wasn't starting, but he had worked his way to the 53-man roster by working his butt off and training hard in the off season and being committed and dedicated. And then, you know, I'm like, you know, watching TV, and I'm like, he's like voted to the Pro Bowl, and like he went to the Pro Bowl multiple times. And I'm thinking, oh my God, like I felt extremely lucky to be able to see that story develop from practice squad to Pro Bowl to becoming a rep, like a team rep, or you know, players representative, and then is also, I think, a part-time, you know, announcer that they go to, or somebody that they go to on TV even to this day for like opinions on, you know, the games on Sunday or whatever, because he does have that knowledge, and he played with one of the, you know, great players, Peyton Manning. And I think, you know, I think Peyton also benefited greatly from Jeff, because he was, I mean, he was a quality player, quality person.
For sure. So you mentioned other offensive linemen in today's game. In your mind, who is the best? If you if you keep up with the game still.
Right now, you mean?
Yes, sir.
Oh man. Gosh. That would be a tough one to answer, as far as, because I do follow the, you know, there's a guy in Indy right now that's a beast.
Nelson, Quentin
Yeah, I
Nelson.
mean, the guy is like scary. I'm glad he wasn't around when I was around, because he would have made me look like a toothpick. He's a damn good player. You know, I couldn't give you a good honest answer on that, because I don't have enough knowledge. Like, I do watch football. Like this last year was an anomaly with, you know, the pandemic and stuff, and football kind of being like, oh, let's not play Sunday, let's play Wednesday because these people tested positive. So it's like, I get it. So I kind of lost interest in it a little bit, just,
Yes, sir.
because of the pandemic. But I'm glad that they did go through the season, because now there's not that, hey, now we're going to ease back into it. No, now it's back at full speed. They're into a regular NFL season. So I'm back to normal schedule of watching. But there are some great ones, and the great ones from that I grew up watching. One you'll know for sure, John Hanna. I mean, he was like iconic, and
With the
will
big
always be iconic to
beats.
me. Yeah, Anthony Munoz, Jackie Slater. Um, you know, in the era after me, one of the names that comes to mind is, like Orlando Pace was extremely good. But here's the funny thing: it's like I can probably name more defensive linemen that I, that are terrors, only because you had to play against them.
This concludes our episode today, folks. We greatly appreciate the support. And if you're not a subscriber yet, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to get all our up-to-date content. And if you like this video, hit the like button. We greatly appreciate it. We welcome you back next time.